So I've been working on Alzheimer's disease for about 30 years, starting off at the Queen's Medical Centre in Nottingham, where I was the first person to actually isolate these amyloid plaques from human brain tissue. And I work on these strange proteins that accumulate in the brain in Alzheimer's and also other neurodegenerative diseases as well, that clump together to form these plaques and these tangles in the brain. And one of the main aims of our research, of course, is to try and develop more effective treatments for disease, but we're also interested in trying to improve diagnostics. So we've worked on diagnostic markers in blood, for example, to try and identify early stage disease. Because if we're going to treat these diseases, we need to be able to diagnose them very early and intervene very early on in the course of the disease. So early diagnosis goes hand in hand with some form of effective treatment. So research into Alzheimer's disease over the last 30 years or so, we've learned a lot about what happens in the brain in Alzheimer's disease. We've learned a lot about the genetics of the disease, but unfortunately that hasn't really been translated into any more effective treatments for the disease. So the drugs that we have at the moment are still the same old drugs that have been around for the last 20, 25 years or so. So a lot of drugs have been through clinical trials, and unfortunately, so far, all of them have failed. So we're not in a position to offer any effective treatment or cure for the disease. The direction of research at the moment is more towards trying to prevent the progression of Alzheimer's disease rather than treat people that already have advanced Alzheimer's disease. So a lot of drugs have failed, and one of the reasons for that may be that they've been tested on people that already have advanced disease. And in that case, they've already lost a lot of their brain cells, they've lost a lot of their brain function, and it's very difficult to think how you might recover that. So I think we've gone beyond the stage of thinking of a cure for people that have advanced disease, more towards trying to prevent the progression of the disease. So identify people very early on who have very early stage Alzheimer's and intervene at that stage to try and stop it from progressing into more advanced disease. And I think that's the way that things will move in the future. And we won't be able to cure people that already have very advanced Alzheimer's. Our own research here at Lancaster is targeted at trying to prevent the formation of these things called plaques and tangles that accumulate in the brain of people with Alzheimer's. So we've already developed a drug that stops the formation of the plaques, and we're on our way to developing a similar type of drug that stops the formation of the tangles in the brain. And those are the two key features of the disease. And we think if we can have an approach that blocks both plaque and tangle formation, then we will have an effective therapy. And so far, these types of treatments have tended to focus individually on these things rather than these things in combination. So the progress we've made so far is we have a drug that stops the formation of the plaques, and that's been tested very widely in different models in the laboratory, and it's pretty much ready for human testing. There are still some safety tests that need to be done for that drug, but it's approaching the stage where we can think about testing it in humans. We have a drug in development for the tangles, which is somewhat behind the development of the plaque-based drug. We're at the stage now of testing that in the laboratory. So I think we're several years away from having a drug that will block both plaque and tangle formation, but we're pretty close to having a drug that will stop the plaque formation.